Okay, this is a continuation about doing the writs of execution as a bailment re-entry for conditions broken. Okay? We basically, when we were born, we were basically registered, and we were registered through the clerk of the court at our local court area. Well, lo and behold, all the clerks of the court worked for the master bankruptcy clerk of the court out of the federal bankruptcy court in D.C. So all these clerks of the court basically are getting these registration numbers, or getting certificates of live birth, and then they're sending them out to D.C. by way of the state processing system. And then that Federal Reserve, or that federal bankruptcy court in D.C. is assigning them that registration number. Well, that registration number just happens to be your initial bankruptcy court bailment case number. So that is the case number that we go in under on our judgment creditors form that I put up there. Now, I got this judgment creditors form off of the Iowa bankruptcy district site. That same form is on a couple of the other sites out there, district sites. It's not a form number. There's no form number with it. Okay? So, this is what we're coming in under, and then the matter is that we have to come in, and we're coming in as the bailor, the true bailor, in the process. I told you guys to go and read the definitions in Anderson's Law Dictionary about bail, all the way from bail through bailment. It all is right there if you know what you're looking for, and if you can read to understand some of this stuff. And basically what we've gotten is the certificate. We had the certificate of live birth. That was our initial bankruptcy court bailment case number. They had to have a case number to file the bailment. And the clerks of the court are the ones that accept the bailment. Okay? It doesn't go through a judge. There's no judge involved in this whatsoever. That's where we were missing the point. We kept trying to go through a judge. The judges down in South Carolina told the guys down there, you can do this yourself. You don't need me. He didn't add the last part, but basically that's what he was saying. You do this, and you go right to the clerk of the court for your local district. Now, since all of these clerks, especially the bankruptcy clerks of the court, they're all tied into the master bankruptcy clerk of the court out in D.C. And I don't know whether that person is still there, but basically it was a person, the clerk of the court in D.C., their last name was Caesar. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Okay? So, all the U.S. Marshals and the Secret Service are basically territorial bound. Now, in our writs of execution, if the U.S. Marshals for our district cannot go outside the district, then the clerk of the court is to file this writs over to D.C. to complete the process. They're tied together. They can file that electronically. That's why we give them the original wet ink signature, because now that clerk of the court can do a certified copy of that document out to D.C. We don't need to send it out to D.C. also. It can be one filing in your local district. Now, as this is the bailment, okay, that case number, now, like if you have a mortgage, you would go in under this writ of execution as the judgment creditor / bailor. You were the initial bailment creditor and grantor. Okay? So, we basically can pull our bailment off the table at any time. Those mortgages, the driver's license, any certificate out there, they are bail pieces. So if you go into Anderson's dictionary, you will see what a bail piece is. It's a certificate. A license is a certificate to break the law. Because the dead can't drive. But yet they're claiming the dead is driving. Okay? This is all about bail, or the land of bail, or, as it was called in the Bible, hell. Bail is hell. Bow, bile, whatever. And see, you're living in hell right now under these numbers. There's 3 numbers that basically make up 666, the mark of the beast. Well, what 3 numbers would make up 666? Upside down, 3 nines. Your Social Security number, the QSIP number on the back of your Social Security card, and also your federal zone, bailment zone number, your postal zone number. 9 digits. So now you've got your 3 nines, and you turn them upside down on the other side of the looking glass, and now you have your mark of the beast. Your address is that you're outside the federal U.S. bailment zone, not democracy, so I changed that out in the address. It's bailment zone. Okay? Our bailment is held under a QSIP number, and that's the number that's on the back of the Social Security card. It's held at the DTC with Seed and Company. But the bankruptcy court case is basically the certificate of live birth number that created a U.S., without the dots, bankrupt Patrick Devine bailment. And we have to bring him out of hell and go to heaven. Right now they've got you marked as a little devil. And that's how they treat you. There was a cartoon or something out there about the little devil that kept getting into trouble. And he wanted to become an angel. Well, that's what we got to do. We've got to come out of hell, and then we will be in our heaven on earth. We don't operate with any more bailments. And that's all that these bailments are, is keeping you in hell. Hell on earth. We've been to all the right places. We've done a lot of the right stuff. Come to find out, my documents and everything else are being utilized by others out there, and they're having success. Getting whatever success they are, but they aren't getting out of the system yet. Okay? My whole goal was to get the hell out of the system. I wanted out of hell. I wanted to go to heaven. And now I've got the means to get there. By going through these court cases. And putting the writs out there into the system. A lot of people called me a loose cannon. Well, there's a deal about a loose cannon. A fixed cannon can only shoot in normally one direction. But a loose cannon can be moved all over hell and shoot at anything that moves. And that's what the hell I've been doing. So I will be a loose cannon any day of the week. I'm not going to be tied down to where I can only shoot at what they want me to shoot at. We went to the D.C. bankruptcy court, but we were in all these other courts that we were going to. We were trying to get the judges involved. The judges are not involved in this. This is all about our bailments. And we're the bailor. And all we have to do is pick our bailments up off the table. So we turn around and we send this in, and then 3 days more in hell, and then you should be going to heaven. And I guarantee you, they will come and check up on you. But in the meantime, if you got something, if you don't feel like going the whole way, you can take your mortgages and send them in and come in, but you're coming in under a, let me see. Where in the hell is it? We have a substantial adverse claim as the bailment, true bailor in this process. So we have the substantial adverse claim, and that is a claim sufficient to deprive court of bankruptcy of constructive possession of property. You don't get an attorney. You do this yourself. You get an attorney, and basically you're staying in hell. You don't need the trustees, the U.S. trustees either, in this process. They were supposed to be out here getting this stuff out. And see, this was all the conditions broken were that it was supposed to be turned over to us when we turned 21. Mm-hmm. But we had to come forward as the bailor and basically put our claim in as a judgment rendering or judgment process, and have the writs of execution initiated to go and seize those bailments. The clerk of the court for the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Columbia just happens to be located on the back of the dollar bill. 333 Constitution Avenue. I said that before when we went to that court almost 2 years ago, that there was something very important about that. And then when we found out that the clerk's name was Caesar, I just about fell out of the chair on that one, because we're rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Give them back their document so that basically we can have our bailment turned over to us. Presently, the bailment is held, like I said, in the DTC, under Seed and Company, under a 9-digit QSIP number that begins with a letter. That's what makes it unique. Nine digits, just in number-wise, is 999,999,999. But now when you put a letter in there, in front of that, how many letters are there in the alphabet? That just took it to another level. Now, for most people out here that were born after 48 or 49, the registration bankrupt court case number is going to be 3 digits, dash 2 digits, dash 6 digits. The 3 digits stand for the district court. In Iowa, there's 2. There's a northern district and a southern district. I'm in 114, the southern district. The next 2 sets of numbers are your, the next set of numbers is your 2-digit year of birth. And then 6 digits after that. So that's the way the system is set up. Now, some of the people that were born prior to 1948 have a different number, certificate of birth registration number, out there. And it may not have been converted over. Some of them may have. You need to double check with the state registrar about that certificate of live birth registration number. I've told people to go and get that, and that you need one for your personal records with all the information on it, including that true registration number. I want the full registration number because I need it to be able to go into the bankruptcy courts. Either that or you request that number, take your certificate of live birth, and you request that from the main bankruptcy court. People that are naturalized, they would be utilizing their naturalization number. People in Pennsylvania, I think, would just use PA dash their 7-digit number in Pennsylvania. The ones in Boston, I don't know what their number system is, but basically it's not they're not utilizing the same numbers out there, so there again you'd have to double check with that. But you have to find it out from the clerk of the court, not from the state registrar. I've gotten certificates of live birth, basically claimed to be my birth certificate, from the clerk of the court all the way up until 1970s. Then they started switching over to this banknote system that comes out of the state registrar's office. But I've got certified copies, a little card that basically is that has all my information on it from the clerk of the court back in '67. It's all with the clerks of the court. Okay? And it's all about bailments. And we're the bailor, the true bailor, in the process. And like I said, our case number is the certificate of live birth registration number. That's the bankruptcy, because that's the bailment case number to create the bankrupt. And your bankrupt is the bailee to you. But then the United States Corporation came in and claimed to be the Quasi Bailor. And see, even in some of the bankruptcy court, the U.S. trustees have come in and usurped the bailor capacity away from the living individual and taken it on in a trustee capacity. For their own governmental benefits. But everything out here is by bailment. Take a look at your traffic tickets. Take a look at all charges. They're charges against the bailment. And they're claiming that you are part of that bailment. They are holding your rights, all your rights, in bailment because you had not come in and basically claimed them as the true bailor and taken all your bailments off the table. Now, when you take the bailments off the table, you have just decreased the national debt. Because all 90% of all the debt in this country is really owed to we the people. As a bailment owed back to us. You go and get a hospital operation or something. Basically, what you give them? You gave them your signature on the right-hand side. You gave them your Social Security account number. They went and got the funds with the Federal Reserve Bank by means of a trade acceptance. or a bank acceptance processed through the system with the Federal Reserve Bank. They got the funds. Now all you have to do is basically go in and bring that to a closure under, as you are the judgment creditor and you have a substantial adverse claim against that item. The banks and everybody else they just have a quasi-claim. And they're your adversary out here in the process. On your writs, okay, you will be the one who assigns the adversary number. That you put in there. So, pretty much everything else, the court fees, the clerk's fees, the other cost, interest, cost of the writ, all should be zero in this process because this is a bailment. This is not a judgment as a court case judgment. This is a court bailment case, and that's all it is. And they've been using our assets, so everything should be prepaid out here because that clerk of the court and all the others are working for the United States Corporation. And they have been the Quasi Bailor who has been getting the benefit. And basically, like I have on the documents, he who benefits is the one who has to pay. This was no benefit to us whatsoever. It was a deprivation. It was a total benefit for them because they were the bankrupt. And then they had to get us into being a bankrupt with them, but they could only do it in a fictional capacity. Now, I sent Tom a document to go to the sheriff this morning, and I tried to rewrite that up a little better and put blanks in there. Then you can turn around and re-edify that if he puts it up in Word for the U.S. Marshals or for the Secret Service or whoever. But I put the one up there for the sheriff because quite a few people have mortgages. Mm-hmm. And they can go after their mortgages with that mortgage company. That mortgage company, you signed the mortgage on the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. You became the bailor. Then you signed it on the left-hand side, identifying your bailee. Mm-hmm. And then the bank comes in and claims that they are the quasi-bailor, and they do their trade acceptance or bank acceptance to go to the Federal Reserve against your bailment and draw out the assets. And then they come back at you and claim, hey, you really owe us this. No, you don't. But you didn't know the understanding about you are the true bailor and that your fiction was the bailee and that they were just a quasi-bailor in the process. You have to expose them, pull the curtain away from them for the fraud that they are. You should still do your individual bailment court case out here so that you write that up and have an understanding. The one I sent in yesterday, I put an attachment of that court case, and I had a number 3 court case, and I condensed it down quite a bit from what the previous one that I had Tom post up there. You can go through and edify that and condense it down some, okay? There's very few people that are out here really trying to do what I've done, okay? You have to have your trials, and that's what I've been doing, is I've been going through my trials out here.
Patrick?
Yes.
You just addressed something that I was about to ask. So we don't need to send the whole, how many pages was it? 4 or 5 pages. Condense it down to say what it's real, you know.
Well, you can condense your court case down. I condensed it down to 4 pages as a court case number 3 for my situation.
Yeah.
Pretty much saying the same thing that I did in number 2, but I condensed it down quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. You answered my question. Thank you.
Bill Smith.
Hey, Bill.
Bill Smith, you better get on here.
Yeah, I'm trying that.
Did you ever get that? Did you ever get that sheriff document opened?
Somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat. That's Lawrence Singer.
Oh, Lawrence, you helped him?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I'm off.
Okay. So basically, we're coming in, and the amount of the judgment is full value, amount unknown. Okay? You don't worry about it. But you turn this over to, you do a writ of execution as an account rendered forensic audit by the Secret Service. So you issue a writ of execution to them. You don't issue it. You basically give this to the clerk of the court, and it says on this document, and it was their document, template document, that basically said this on the precept. You will issue a writ of execution. I didn't say that. They already had it on there. And that is telling the bankruptcy clerk that they will issue the writ of execution. We signed down below as the judgment creditor. But see, we were trying to get this thing through. We didn't see how, we had the wrong court case number. We were trying to get a court case number. We were trying to go about it all wrong. We were looking at this thing as the Social Security. There is nothing in the Social Security. It's just a processing number. It's a bailment accessing number. The bailment is really under that QSIP number and also under your court case bailment number, your certificate of live birth. So, when you send this in, okay, you make up your writ of execution. Should be 2 pages. Okay? I added the page numbers to mine. Okay? Those are to be attached to one another. The second page is to be the instructions to the U.S. Marshals or to the sheriff. What needs to be done? The third page of this document was a precept. And basically that's where you sign as the judgment creditor, equity grantor, and the true bailor. And like I said, your address, you are outside the federal U.S. bailment zone. You're not that mailbox with the 9-digit number. Zip code plus your 4-digit box number. If you have one at the box number at the post office, they have a 4-digit box number also. You just need to put the 0 in front of most of them now. So that's pretty much just about it, okay, in this process. You send the original precept, and basically I put my thumbprint, and then I sealed it with my embosser on the precept. You make 3 copies of the writ that you want to go along with that precept. You leave one of them unstapled. The other 2 I would staple and I would stamp copy on them. Then you paperclip that package together. I've got one that went in for the U.S. Marshals, and then I had another package the same way that went in for the Secret Service to do the account rendered as a forensic audit. And then I put a cover letter on top of both of those 2 individual writ packages. And in the cover letter, I addressed that basically, let me see, if the territorial limits prevent the U.S. District U.S. Marshals and the U.S. Secret Service from performing all the required tasks, then you will forward the writs to the federal D.C. bankruptcy clerk of the court to complete the final bailment processing. And then I put the clerk of the court there in D.C.'s address and phone number. They have no wiggle room now, and we know damn well that basically the D.C. clerk of the court will get electronic communications from the district clerk of the court. So when we file it into the district clerk of the court, they can take care of several of the items at the state level, but they may not be able to do the national ones. So basically that would have to go out to D.C., and D.C. would then issue those out to the Secret Service or to the U.S. Marshals there in the D.C. area. Okay. Hopefully that pretty much wraps everything up in the process here. I don't know what more I could say, but we've been right on this thing all along. We were at the right places. We just had a few items out of sync, and basically one of the key ones was knowing that bailment case number as your certificate of live birth registration number, because that's what placed you and your assets into bailment with the court. And the clerks handle all bailments. The judges don't. That's why we go to the clerks. Okay? Now, on that one that I sent to Tom this morning, writ of execution to the sheriff, on the very last page of instructions on how to fill the forms out, okay, I said, study what you are doing and understand the words and the true law. Okay? Several key words. Re-entry. Know what it says. Re-entry for condition broken. The interest which remains in the grantor or his successors or the successors of a testator where the estate on condition subsequent has been created. Quite a few of us have gone out here and already created an estate and have an estate EIN number. Also, under that re-entry for condition broken, actually a power of termination rather than a substantial estate. Now, these words that I posted up here, I pulled out of Ballantyne's dictionary. Power of termination. Okay? It says basically the same thing. And you have the interest remains in the grantor. You. Your guardians were your grantors until you came of age. And then you took over as the grantor at that point in time. You have to come in as you're the grantor, but you're also the bailor in the process. And you have to claim your bailment back. Substantial adverse claim. A claim which is real and actual, as distinguished from one which is merely colorable. The banks, all of these other people are operating with colorable claims. Quite a few of these basically are identified right in the American jurisprudence. Court, an organ of the government consisting of one person or of several persons, called upon and authorized to administer justice. A place where actual justice is judicially administered. The three essential elements of a court are a time, a place, and a person. Doesn't say anything about anybody else. You are your own individual court of bailment. And you then become the judgment creditor out of that court. Judgment. Jurisdiction. Okay? You need to look up these words. You ought to sleep with the dictionary. That's where you'll learn more about the law than any law book. Stay away from the codes. They're not there for us. They're only for the bankrupt or the bailee. Not for us, the bailor. And then we will also, I talked about writ of execution. Basically, those are to go and get our assets. Now, you will also end up doing writs of assistance. Coming from that bankruptcy court to be processed to the Secretary of State and to the Attorney General to purge the public records of your bailee and to restore your natural rights back to you, which have been held in bailment. Then you should get your green. You should be green sheeted, given a proper state identification and also a green passport in the process as a national non-bailment person. In other words, you're going to heaven. And then all the little hellions can't touch you. Yeah. How many times, basically, have we been burned out here? Well, that ought to tell you right there that we're in hell. Because, basically, if you're getting burned, you're definitely not in heaven. You're in bail, bow, whatever. What is called out in the Bible that tells us to get the hell out of her. Okay, go ahead and we'll open it up for questions. You guys know it all, huh?
No, Pat. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask you something. Let's see where that's do with that. I'm looking at this bankruptcy, the bailment, where it says the case number, U.S. bailment and reentry. That's where we put out that number, right?
Yes, at the very top, okay, up there on page 1, to where it says case number.
Okay.
And underneath that, I told Tom this morning that basically I would put underneath that case number, I'll pull it up here. What the hell is that? I would put initial bankruptcy court bailment case number. But you just leave a case number, and then you put your certificate of live birth registration number.
Now the QSIP is going to be that F number, you know, that's on the back of the Social Security card.
That is down where it says QSIP number. Yes, that's the number on the back of the Social Security card.
Okay.
But the court case number or the case number is your certificate of live birth registration number.
Okay.
Because the clerks of the court basically recorded you initially and as bailment. And only a clerk of the court can record a bailment.
Yeah.
No one else can. The state registrar, they can't do it. It's got to be done at a court. And it's the clerk of the court.
Patrick?
Yeah.
The adversary number, is that just an arbitrary number we make up? Or?
You keep track of your adversary numbers that you're submitting in under that case number.
But that's our own numbering system.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
And when we send 2 copies of the writ into the clerk, one is for the Secret Service and the other one's for the Marshal? And
no, you didn't hear me. You didn't hear me. You do one writ for the U.S. Marshals.
Okay.
And that has 2 pages to it. The first page and then the second page, which is the instructions.
Okay.
Now you have to have 3 copies of that.
Yes.
You staple 2 copies together. Individual, 2 pages. Okay, you staple those 2 pages together, and then you staple the next 2 pages together. Okay, so now you've got page 1 and page 2 separate, and then you've got page 1 and page 2 stapled together, and page 1 and page 2 stapled together, and then you put the precept on top of that, and you paper clip that together. Now that becomes one package for one writ. Okay? Read the damn instructions. It says on that sheriff's document, okay? On the instructions how to fill this thing out. Okay?
Yes.
Return the original and 2 copies of the completed writ of execution along with the original precept. That means you're going to have 7 pages altogether.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the stapling part I didn't get correctly.
Well, that only stands to reason. Basically, you want those to stay together,
right.
But you have to give the clerk of the court unstapled ones for their records.
That's right.
Because they may need to send that out by electronic out to D.C.
No.
But the ones that are going directly to the U.S. Marshals, and they might give them 2 copies, those 2 copies, over to the U.S. Marshals, one for their file, and then one working copy to where they sign off on it and return that back.
Mm.
Or they might sign both of them and return them back. The court will keep one and then send you the completed copy also.
Got it.
Okay. Think outside the box. This isn't that complicated.
No, it isn't. You really made it simpler and simpler.
Yeah, because we've been there, and basically then I just had to put the missing links into the picture here.
Especially taking the judges and the trustees out of the picture.
Yeah, and it's all since it's all about bailment, it's all done with the clerk.
And I like the fact that we already had an existing case open, and it stays open, so we can keep adding things to it.
No, it's going to close down when you close this thing down.
Okay.
You're going to pull your bailment off the table. So now this certificate of live birth bailment is going to go away.
Well, we talked about in our court case of finding future applicable documents.
However you want to do it, Tom. If you want to stay open, okay? You can shut everything down.
Okay.
Okay? I told you not to go out there and try and worry about everything else that might have been done. Just get on with your life. You're too damn fucking old, Tom. You're probably going to fucking drop over dead tomorrow, and basically, what the hell have you gained?
Okay, we get all the big stuff, and don't worry the little stuff.
You just get it. They will take care of everything that basically is attached there, okay?
Okay.
And like Tom just found out, okay, you do not trust any damn stinking 501c3 minister. You stay the hell away from them. They will send their attorneys after you if they don't like what you're doing. Well, if they're sending their attorneys after you, they're in the damn system. They're in the devil side of the ledger book. Yeah. Are they working for God? No. They're working for the devil. That's their God.
Well, in this case, the pastor did not know the attorney had filed the case and is going to be telling them to pull it out. He says filing court cases.
Well, yeah, because you called him on the carpet, okay? But for the most part, he would have let it ride.
Actually, he's
just plain dumb, okay?
Okay, could be.
Yeah. Never trust a damn minister. They're some of the lowest life people on the face of the earth. Or under the earth. Whatever. Jesus didn't like them either. Daniel and Moses didn't like them. And I don't like them either. Okay, any other questions? You don't need to send this in by registered mail, okay?
Good.
Certified mail is good enough. It'd be best, especially if you live right in the area, to drive right there and take a fourth copy in there and get it time-stamped for your possession. Okay? Now you have the actual that has been recorded. They will timestamp a copy for you and give it back to you. I've done that with the bankruptcy court before. Otherwise, you just go and send it certified mail. You'll have your receipt, that you have to send. You can't fax these in. You have to send the wet ink signature items in, the originals. And the registered mail isn't going to accomplish anything more. Putting stamps and all that other garbage on it ain't going to do anything either. You might have an extra copy, blank copy of your court case laying on the table when the men in black come there and say, okay, that basically the men in black will come to you, probably are out of the system anyway, operating just like that clerk of the court with the last name of SEIZURE. That's very, very odd. Okay? Just like I talked to Gary up in New Hampshire, and he said, yeah, he'd been talking to this one guy out of the Justice or the Attorney General's office, and the guy just happens to be Richard Tracy or Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe the real guys that we need to see are operating under these fictional character names. So like the men in black, Agent J, Agent K. They didn't use their real names anymore. Did they? In the movies Men in Black. They were using fictional names. Okay, any other questions? No questions? I can't give you the answers if you don't ask the questions.
All right.
And I can't put the questions into your mouth. Okay. Call it quits then, Tom, or you guys can continue talking, and I'm going to drop off the line here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
Very intense.
Okay.
We need to listen to this call quite a few times.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.